What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. This is going to be a full in-depth guide to ASHE. Now, we have actually originally done this for the Pro Guides website, but we've condensed it down into 15 minutes for you guys on YouTube, and I'm actually really excited to show you this off. Hopefully, you're going to find this very useful. If you want the full uncut version, so literally everything, not condensed down to 15 minutes, you can go onto the Pro Guides website along with a bunch of other guides that I've already been doing as well for other champions. I really hope you guys are going to enjoy this. It's something I used to do a lot, but I haven't done as much recently. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with this, so thank you very much for watching and enjoy the video. Hey guys, welcome to a new Pro Guides champion guide. My name is Fine. Today we're going to be checking out ASHE, who's probably one of the most effective AD carries you can play in Season 6. A big reason why she is one of the most effective is because she does everything so well. She's such a well-rounded AD carry. Like, when we're looking at the type of champion she actually is, like normally you have someone who's good at taking towers, or someone who's good in a team fight, does a lot of damage, or someone who can engage. If we're looking at the sieging type, you can use your Q on towers to shred them even quicker. The bonus damage does apply, even though it doesn't actually stack up to the ranger's focus. You can poke people away with your W as well. For the engage part, we have our arrow, of course, and then in a team fight, you actually have a lot of damage against a tank or a squishy target. In general, the thing that actually separates her, though, is going to be the picking element. So the actual starting a fight, getting picks, creating the opportunities with your ultimate for your team. This is one thing a lot of AD carries cannot actually do, and is so good for like a solo queue environment, because you can be picking your own fights. Like, normally you need to wait for your team to do it, but actually with ASHE you can do it yourself. Normally the way you kind of structure your game is you'll try to do well in the lane phase, you'll try to get a few kills, maybe with your ultimate as well. You do have some good damage, but then you'll just group with your team and try to get arrow after arrow, setting up fight after fight. That has got to be one of the biggest pluses from actually playing ASHE, is the fact that you can pick these fights whenever you want to. So for example, if someone steps a bit too far forward, when you're grouped, you can arrow them, a priority target, or if someone shows top lane, you can actually be the one picking the fight. ASHE is going to carry a lot harder than some other AD carries just because she has a damage element, so she can carry that way like a traditional AD carry, but she also has the utility side of things. You can kite people, you can shred tanks with your Q, but actually your Q is also very good for shredding squishy targets, because it does a lot. It kind of does burst damage. It's not really burst, but it does a lot of damage in a very short space of time. The biggest problem with ASHE, though, is the fact that you don't have any mobility, so you have no escape. Even though kiting kind of makes up for it, it doesn't let you dodge anything, it doesn't let you gain distance, so you're going to have to be careful with your positioning. When we're considering everything together, though, having just one like major con, I guess, to playing her, the lack of mobility, that's actually not that bad for an AD carry. Like, we have the engage, which is really good, we have a good lane phase, we have a good mid game, and we have a very good late game as well. So she is a very well-rounded and a solid choice in any team comp. So let's go through her abilities and actually talk about how you're going to use these properly to be most effective. Her passive is called Frost Shot. So this is where her basic attacks and also some abilities are going to apply this thing called Frost to enemies. It's going to slow them, but the thing we actually care about more than the slow probably is the extra damage that we're going to do. So ASHE actually cannot crit. Actually, you can technically still crit, but you don't actually do bonus damage with it. You're going to be increasing the Frost slow strength, so you'll be slowing for more when you crit. The reason we actually build crit on ASHE, though, is not really because of that. It's because once a target is applied with the Frost, you're going to be doing bonus damage on an auto attack, so it's kind of like an averaging out of your crit, I guess. Basically, once someone has that Frost on them, you're going to be doing bonus damage per auto, which is increased by critical chance and also bonus crit damage, which is your Infinity Edge. So let's move on to her Q, her Ranger's Focus. This is actually what is making ASHE overpowered in Season 6. Even though she's known for her arrow and like her volley poke damage, her Q, her Ranger's Focus, is what is doing the damage. So you're only able to use this to activate it once you get to 4 stacks, and you get 1 stack per auto attack, and once you do, you get 5 seconds of bonus attack speed and bonus damage. One of the things that people don't realize with this, though, is it is going to actually apply on hit effects still, and it's going to apply life still. So actually, like a Bloodthirster is going to be healing you for a ton when you have this active. It isn't particularly a complicated spell. Like, there isn't too much to go into it. It's just get to 4 stacks, use it, and you're going to be doing loads of bonus damage and healing for a bit more. But it does apply on all 3 of the bolts on the Runans, and it is also a auto reset timer. So the auto reset just means basically you want to auto attack first and then use your Q immediately after for kind of effectively an extra auto attack in there before you use it. Her W is her volley, so this is kind of her bread and butter. This has been with her the entire time, no matter how many times she's been reworked. You're going to fire 9 arrows in a cone in the target direction, dealing damage. This is what you're going to be maxing first. This is going to be a really good source of damage. It also applies the Frost, though, which is your passive. So ideally in lane phase, whenever you're trying to trade with someone, you use your volley first and then you auto attack, because it will apply the Frost and you'll be doing bonus damage with with the auto. Her E is going to be her hawk shot. Now this is something a lot of people don't even use. Some people don't even level it. I've gone through a phase of playing Ashe where I actually haven't bothered, so I just get my Q and my W all the way to maxing them, and then I pick up my E when I have to, because I don't think it's actually that valuable. It is still nice to have 1 point in it though, and you can just send it flying across the map. You can kind of check for the enemy jungler. If you find them, it's really effective. If you don't, it's kind of just a waste, honestly. You don't actually do too much with it, especially in the lane phase. Finally, her ultimate is like her famous thing, right? Her enchanted crystal arrow. This is going to send a missile flying across the map. It's global, and if it hits someone, it's going to stun them. There is one thing to bear in mind with this though, and that is that the stun duration is affected by the travel distance of the arrow. So it's from 1 second all the way to 3.5 seconds, which is super broken. To get the 3.5, you're basically going to have to shoot it from bot lane all the way to top lane, for example, and if you do it point blank, you're only going to stun for a second. So a lot of people actually do max their Q because it's a lot of your damage, but I personally think that W is going to be much better, especially with an Essence Reaver build, because you can literally spam this over and over and the damage really does add up. Plus you can do this from range. You don't have to be in range to auto attack to get some volley damage. Normally I would go W, Q, again putting a point into your E at level 4 if you want to, but actually personally I wouldn't even put a point into my E until late game. As we said before, one of the biggest strengths of Ashe is that you can basically do everything. You can slow, you can kite people, so you can kind of keep yourself safe. You are a very good duelist because of your Q active, the range is focused, which means you can actually keep up with kind of burst AD carries, especially like a Lucian. Lucian was really popular for a long time, but then Ashe came up and she can actually keep up with him. Like, he is going to try and burst you down, but with your Q, especially with your stun as well, it's going to give you enough dueling power. Apart from that, we have our poke with our volley, so we're always looking for a little bit of damage we can do when we're not auto attacking. If we're auto attacking for a damage, like for 100% of our damage, like a Vayne for example, if we're ever not in range, we're not doing anything. With Ashe at least, we can fire a volley off, we can get a little bit of poke down, we can get some slow, I guess, as well. So even if we're not in range in a team fight to start with, we can actually still do something. The biggest thing though has to be your ultimate, I guess. That is kind of what's going to win you the games. Even if you actually feed your ass off in the lane phase, it's not really going to matter because you can still be effective with the slow kite and also the arrow to engage. Another strength is actually like her passive combined with her high attack range. We're not going to go into that too much now because we're going to go into it a bit later when we talk about the lane phase more. Her biggest weakness, as we said, is being immobile, and also she does kind of need items to be effective. If she doesn't have the items, she isn't really going to do too much damage because she is auto attack reliant. Okay, so let's take a proper look at the lane phase. I'm also going to talk about how to trade, how to farm, and how to actually get out of the lane phase ahead. In general, you actually have a really easy time of farming minions because you can use your volley for it. It's actually really effective. It's going to hit more than one. It's going to hit the entire front row if you use it properly, and you can actually farm multiple things at a time, especially under tower. This is really good. You're going to have to kind of treat it just like a normal AD carry. If you get under tower, you can use your volley. I don't think using your Q, your ranges focus, is really worth the mana cost to get an extra CS on the tower, but you can do that if you want to. Normally, you just have to prep them with auto attacks though. Try and hit the enemy champion with a volley and the wave. If you can do both, that is going to be the optimal play there. But really, you shouldn't be under your tower anyway because Ashe actually is pretty strong in their lane phase. So you don't necessarily want to push really heavily, but you kind of want to keep it in the middle of the wave. Actually, there's like two ways to play her, I guess. You can either just push really heavily and poke with your volley, or you can keep it in the middle and you can try and fight more. So these two kind of play styles are like the two ways of trading. It's actually very neatly divided up into the middle, so we can talk about both. So we have cooldown based trading and we have minion based trading, right? So cooldown based trading is where you kind of go in, you use your cooldowns and you're playing around the enemy's cooldowns as well. The simple thing would be like Lucian doesn't have his Q because he's just used it on the minion wave, but you do have your volley, so you can go in and you can use your ability, but he can't use his. So if you want to play like that, then you kind of actually want to push him into tower because Lucian's going to have to use his Q on the minion wave to either keep it out of tower, or he's going to have to use it to farm, in which case he can't use it on you, and you're going to have your volley to poke under tower from range. Ashe is actually very effective like that. She has a very high range as well, which means she can poke a little bit under the tower, but her range is actually why she's so good at minion based trading. Now this really comes down to like if the enemy AD is looking at a CS, he wants to go and take that CS, then he's not going to be looking at you, which means you can walk forward, hit him, and he's probably not going to hit you back. Even if he does hit you back, it's actually fine because he's missed that CS. So either way, it's going to be a win-win trade for you, and Ashe is very good at doing this. This is one of the reasons why Caitlyn is so frustrating, by the way, as well. But actually, Ashe does it better because of her passive. So the AD walks forward, right? You give him a little tab. You're going to apply your passive though, the Frost. So next time they walk forward and do it again, you're going to be doing bonus damage when you hit them. Actually, your auto attacks hurt more than normal AD carries because of that. So you're actually better at doing this. Now this is really hard to do under tower because of the tower range, and also the support is probably going to harass you a little bit. So if you want to do the minion based trading with your high range and kind of zone people and fight people like that, that, then keep it in the middle. If you want to push and poke, then just push them under the tower. Right, the most basic combo, I guess, to ever to trade is going to be a volley into auto attack. Don't auto attack into volley because you're missing some of your passive damage. So the volley first to apply the frost, and then auto attack to apply the bonus damage plus your auto attack. That is actually pretty good because you're going to be slowing someone, doing a lot of damage, and you can even follow that up with more auto attacks as well. If you really want to do it, then you get the 4 Ranger's Focus stacks to start with, then you actually volley, then you get your Ranger's Focus immediately after, and you're going to be doing so much damage. That was a bit of a mouthful, so let's just break that down into a simple way of putting it. So we're going to be getting 4 Ranger's Focus stacks to start with, not activating it just yet. We would volley, auto attack, immediately use our Q as well for a reset, and we'd be doing so much damage with that. Apart from that, you don't really have any other way unless you just want to use your Ranger's Focus for a bit of harass, but I guess as well your ultimate is a really good way to engage the fight, right? You just wait till you have your Q ready, and then you use your ult, you use your Ranger's Focus, and you try and annihilate them. One of the things I love about Ashe as well is the fact that my jungler always wants to gank for me. It is so good because it's such an easy gank. You arrow, you get a pick, and your jungler can just come in, and they know that, so they're going to be spending more time around bot lane. You can just arrow someone to engage to start with, but actually ideally, like, it's very slow, so it's very easy to dodge. So get someone else to crowd control them first, and while they're already stunned, use your arrow to lock them in place for longer. You also have your slow as well, so you can engage fights just as the jungler is arriving. Try not to do it too late because yes, your arrow can travel really far, but you're not going to be able to catch back up with it. So ideally, you want to be as close to the enemy AD as possible as the gank comes in. Okay, so let's go into the middle lane game. So now we should have like an idea of how to get an advantage in the lane phase, but we need to kind of transition that into actually winning the entire game. So thankfully, this is kind of actually the easy part. Like, we've already done the hard part, which is the lane phase. We don't have much mobility, so if you make a mistake in the lane, you're probably going to pay for it. But now we've actually survived that, we can group with our team and we have a lot more safety. So you are an amazing team fighter. Let's just get that out of the way. Like, you are one of the best damage wise and utility wise as well. As soon as you get that runage, you're going to be applying your Ranger's Focus on all 3 bolts. You'll also apply any other on hit damage you have and the slow as well. Now, having that like on 3 people in a team fight is absolutely 100% ridiculous, and it does so much damage even if you don't realize it. In a team fight, you definitely just want to shred the tank though. You're not like immobile at all. You can't really dash around and get yourself out of a sticky situation, so just play it slow. Just fight people that are the closest ones to you. It's not your job to kill the enemy AD carry, it's your job to kill the tank. Definitely, like, if people are jumping onto you, you want to get the highest priority target that is safe at the front. So like if an Irelia jumps onto you and a Nautilus, you want to kill the Irelia first because she's actually going to be killing you. Ideally though, just kite backwards, use that slow, get some distance with your ultimate if you need to as well, and you should actually be fine as long as you can attack move. The ideal goal really is to control every single objective. Just ward up, like you get pink wards for the objectives, and if someone comes in to try and contest, you arrow them in the face and you focus that person and burst them down. So this entire thing could just be summed up literally by your job is to arrow people, is to create advantages for your team, create mismatched fights where you have more players on your team around than the enemy team does, and get fights that way. That is pretty much how you're going to win a game every single time you play as Ashe. You're just going to be finding arrows, getting picks, and winning by that. Ashe is actually really good for taking objectives because you want to be getting these fights, right? You want to be getting these picks, but then you get things afterwards. So either you pick someone, you kill them, and then you take the objective because it's going to be a 5v4 because that one person's dead, or you just start to take the objective anyway. Like, you start the dragon, and then as the enemy team comes in, you're able to engage, you're able to slow the enemy jungler, whatever you want to do, you're able to actually contribute to your team quite a lot. One thing I am very famous for doing on my stream is just feeding my ass off on Ashe, but then carrying the game mid-game because I actually managed to hit some arrows and I'm clever with it. I guess, like, I have enough experience to recognize when a good fight is coming. So if you're actually like a good knowledgeable League player, you are really going to be effective on Ashe. You'll know when a good fight is coming, you'll know when you actually should engage with it, and you'll be able to catch people with it, and that's all you need to do to win a game on Ashe. I definitely think like objectives though, either Dragon or Baron, is a much easier way of doing this than actually sieging turrets. Like, you can dive with your arrow and stuff, but it's just going to be like a case of your team might not be on the same page as you, whereas an objective they probably will be. Balancing farm and objectives and stuff is actually kind of difficult on Ashe because we said at the start you don't really want to be on your own like any time in the game, because yes, you can actually win a fight, but you have to have like the perfect situation, which is probably not something you want to rely on. Ideally, you're going to be taking all of the farm around you when you're grouped with your team. I know it kind of sounds scumbag, but just have the attitude that everything around you, jungle camps, mid lane farm, anything like that, that is all belonging to you, and you should try and get it all. Apart from Jhin, I think Ashe might actually create the most pressure out of any single AD carry, because at any time if you misstep, you know you're going to get an arrow to the face, and teams just cannot deal with that. That is why she has such a high win rate. Normally a champion is most effective when they win their lane. Actually, like, that's pretty much true on any champion, I think, but AD carries, especially in general, when they lose their lane, are not that effective. For ASHE, she actually is, because you can still do this. You can still arrow people and she can still help her team win. And that is really where the big win rate comes from, because she's winning these games when she's ahead, but she's also winning games when she's behind. I think to just sum it up, when you're playing ASHE, you really want to focus on just arrowing people as much as possible, but you want to stay at the back of the fight and kite people around. You want to play it slow because you're going to be doing a lot of damage, but you have no mobility. One thing I see a lot of ASHE players do is they actually just hold their arrow because they're afraid of like the enemy Irelia jumping onto you. But the thing is, like, the best way of actually countering that is to catch someone in the first place, so it doesn't matter that Irelia jumps on you because your team is there to help you. If you think about it, in a full 5-on fight, they might not be able to help you, they might not be able to save you from the Irelia because they all have their own jobs anyway. But if you can get a pick like at the start of the fight and kill someone immediately, then if Irelia does jump onto you, everyone else is going to be around to save you. If you find that you're actually quite a good ASHE player, like you have a good score and you do pretty well in the lane phase, but you're not winning as many games as you think you should, then that is probably actually why it's the most common mistake, holding your arrow for defensive reasons rather than trying to get picks from it. So that is going to wrap up this guide, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This was pretty in depth, but I played a lot of ASHE. I love playing ASHE, so I have a lot to share, and hopefully you guys found it useful. Remember to check out the rest of the pro guides. I have some more guides on the site as well, one for Jhin, I have one for Twitch as well as Ezreal. So I hope you guys enjoy all of them. Let me know what you think down below, what champion you'd like to see next, but I'll catch you in the next guide.